Hello and greetings from beautiful Bogarín Trail here in La Fortuna. I wanted to show you around a little bit of one of my favorite spots for bird watching near my house, and it has a great benefit of being only about a 5-minute walk from the center of La Fortuna. So even if you're here, you don't have a rental car, you want to see some sloths, you want to see some birds, some wildlife, this is a great space to check out, and I'm going to show you around a bit. The first thing you're going to do when you get here is you need to go to the reception, and you're going to get a bracelet and a chat about the area. And if you're a really good person, you're going to buy a beer for my friend Adriel here. He loves his beer.
Or coffee.
Here he'll give you a brief rundown of what it's like to walk around here at Bogarin. And if you want to go with a guide, he can help you out. Now, if you're in the right spot, it should look like this, like you see here behind me, nice beautiful wood. And then over behind me, in the area that's too bright to capture in the video, is a little pond and a bird feeder. And you're going to see a lot of birds right here at the reception. But make sure you end up here, because there's actually 2 entrances. The other one is on the main road with a sign that says Sloth Tours, I think. And they rent some of the trails from Bogarin, but it's like twice as expensive and you have less access to the park than if you come here directly. So we're just outside the reception here, just at the entrance to the trails. And a couple quick notes. I'm going to show you the route that I normally walk around when I come here just to do some bird watching or to do a bit of photography on the trails. First thing I would say is if you're going to come, try to bring a pair of binoculars. Even if they're cheap binoculars, it's really going to help because a lot of things will be kind of up, hidden away. If you don't have binoculars, I would definitely recommend going with a guide that has a telescope so that you can see up close. Otherwise, you're going to see a sloth and all you're going to see is way up there in the tree, a little ball of fur that looks like a dead leaf. It's not really going to be worth your time. So bring a pair of binoculars or go with somebody that can help you out with that. So our first spot right here, we're at the first little bridge, and the bridges are going to be kind of our reference points throughout the tour. So there's a little bridge here, and behind me, the trail splits in 3 different directions. 1, 2, 3. We're going to take this one that will be to your left as you go across the bridge. All of the trails are fine. This is just the route that I generally take. So we're to our first stop on the tour. I usually walk straight all the way from the reception to this spot right here. Right behind the camera to your left is the exit to the other entrance along the main road, the Sloths tour, where you're going to pay more. So go in through Bogarin. But right here, it's a lot darker. It's quite humid. I usually don't take a lot of photographs here because of how dark it is. And there's not a lot of bird activity. The canopy is actually quite high here. But what there's a lot of is poison dart frogs, especially the strawberry poison dart frog, which is red with blue legs. And there's also the green and black poison dart frog. But I usually do a quick stop here, check out some of the frogs, especially if I'm showing people around. So just keep an eye out on the ground. You'll often hear their high-pitched like squeak as they're calling. And you can generally locate them that way because they really stand out against the brown forest floor. But from there, I like to go on to another bridge where there's a lot of bird activity. A quick stop before we get to that bridge. The last stop was right there at that corner. And here there's a little trail off to the left, and over to the right you have a little stream. This spot in particular is where you'll see a lot of sloths. Now, it's hard to see sloths without a guide. The guides can find some of the 30+ sloths here on the property, in part because they don't move a lot, so you generally have a good idea of where they are to start looking. And they often are hidden up in the trees, as they only come down once a week to ground level in order to defecate. So right here, though, if you're going to go without a guide and going to try to chance it to find a sloth, this is probably your best bet. Right here between this spot and the next bridge. So right here, we're at Bridge 9, and this is one of the best spots for seeing songbirds, woodpeckers, hearing some different birds like wrens. There's always a lot of activity in this section right here. And one of my tips, if you're going to come here, especially without a guide, is take your time. You're going to see the most birds, not by covering the most territory, but by knowing the right spots to stop, wait, spend 10, 15 minutes even in a single spot, because often your presence could scare off a little bit the activity, or the birds at least pause. But as you spend some time, the bird's accustomed to your presence and they start to come out. And this is one of the spots where I see the most quantity of birds and variety of birds. right here between Bridge 9 and the little shelter there that you can hide in if it starts raining about 25 meters up the trail. So right in front of that little hut where you can hide from the rain, there's a little path that you can see right behind me. It's kind of hidden by some plants, but we're going to go through the leaves and we're going to come out to a really special spot on the property. So if you're lucky enough to come here on a clear day, you're going to get a great view of Arenal volcano. But not only that, this is also a great spot for wildlife. Over there, we have some bushes where a lot of hummingbirds arrive to. Right over here, this big tree that you can see just on the edge of the video. Let's turn the camera a little. So that big tree right there is a type of wild avocado. And with that wild avocado tree, you'll see a lot of birds, especially during migration season. A lot of birds will stop there to eat food. And if you look out over the field, right now there are some cattle grazing, and often you'll see different types of egrets or small birds like swallows flying out over the field. So this is another great spot to take a break, to pause, just take in the view even if there's no wildlife, especially if you've got a beautiful clear day like we have today. Now right here we have a good example of why you're going to want to bring binoculars with you. So if you look right here, we've got some tourists. I say tourists, it's my wife and mother-in-law, checking out a beautiful bird that's all the way up there on that branch. It is a broad-billed Motmot, and you can see a picture of it right here on the screen. Now, if you didn't have a pair of binoculars with you, all you're going to see is a bird that's up there. It's kind of a lump against the green behind it, but with a pair of binoculars, it looks beautiful. Now, right here, you can see a lot of ant activity. And these ants have a hole that they are located over. But this hole is not of their own invention. In fact, this hole is dug by anteaters. So at night, the anteaters come out and they will get into these ant colonies and start eating them. So this is a nice spot to stop because also right in this area, there's usually a lot of bird activity. If you haven't noticed, as this video goes on, I'm getting sweatier and sweatier. So I would definitely recommend bringing a water bottle along with you. That sound right there, that's a black-bellied wren. And he had perfect timing because I was just about to say this spot right here between bridges 7 and 8 is a great spot to hear some of the wrens that we have on the property. They're hard to see, but they're often easy to hear. This spot as well is a great spot to stop if you're looking for sloths. Sloths love cecropia trees, what they call guarumos in Spanish. And right around here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, about 10 different cecropia trees. So this is another spot that's great if you're trying to find some sloths. Now we're here at Bridge 7, and this is one of my favorite secret spots in the park. Because if you go straight along the trail like most people do, you do kind of a loop and you're going to come out to an area over there. But I usually go past the sign that says refuge or refugio that you can see right over here. So if you go along that trail, you're going to get to a refuge. And that refuge is a beautiful spot because I've often seen some very hard to spot birds there. Some of them are probably not going to be all that exciting if you're coming here looking for tropical colors like parrots and parakeets and songbirds. But if you're a birder and you're looking for rare, hard to see birds like a uniform crake, it's one of the best spots in the park to keep an eye out for it. But before we head down to that refuge, we have a toucan here. I wasn't planning to tell you that, but if you could hear that sound, that croaking sound is a beautiful rainbow-billed toucan. But if we follow this refuge sign, we'll end up at the refuge. But before that, keep an eye out up in the forest canopy, because in this area around Bridge 7 and back to Bridge 8, there are 3 black and white owls, and they love to sleep during the day in this area. So if you look up in the canopy, there's a chance you might get to see a black and white owl. So I'm here standing underneath the refuge, and let's stop and listen to a second to all the bird activity. So this is a great spot, and it's a place that often gets overlooked because people will take the long route around rather than cutting through here. And I always see such amazing wildlife. right over there we have some heliconia flowers. And this is one of the spots in the park where I will see a type of hummingbird known as a hermit. The hermits do what's called trap lining. They'll find these heliconia flowers and fly a route that's sometimes 1 or 2 kilometers long through the forest, feeding at each spot periodically, maybe once an hour, they'll come to a certain flower. And so right in here is a good spot to sometimes see either a green or a striped-throated hermit. This is also a perfect spot to wait out if you get caught in the rain, because right after the rain stops, often the birds will come out. And over that way, up there, you have some more of those cecropia trees that the sloths love to hang out in, but also they're a good spot for seeing toucans. We heard one earlier, he was over in one of those trees, and it's a good spot for spotting birds, especially right after a rainstorm. One thing I would definitely recommend not doing though, is what I'm kind of doing right now, which is being off the trail. And that's because there are venomous snakes here in the forest. Costa Rica has, on average, I believe it's 2 venomous snakes for every hectare of land. And here you have the fer-de-lance, which is the most venomous snake in the Americas. So sometimes you could wander off the trail into the forest thinking, oh, there's something over there, but you might end up running across a snake. So we really don't recommend going off the trail here. Stick to the trails and you'll be fine. If they do spot a poisonous snake, they'll mark it off with yellow tape to make sure that nobody gets too close. Now, once you leave the little refuge over there, you're going to want to keep an ear out for woodpeckers. This is the spot in the property where I've seen the most species of woodpeckers. I think I've seen probably 5 species of woodpeckers right here in this area that I'm standing, about 20 meters on the other side of the refuge. In fact, in this tree right over there, for a little while, there was a nesting pair earlier this year. So keep an ear out. Something that's kind of cool about woodpeckers that makes sense once you hear it, but maybe you've never thought about, is that you can tell what woodpecker you're listening to based on how they hit the tree. For example, the large pale-billed woodpecker only makes 2 strikes of the tree. You'll hear a boom, boom. And even without hearing it call, you know by the way it hits the tree what woodpecker you're listening to. So learning the woodpecker's drum is what it's called, can help you to know what to look for. So we're at a fork in the trail here. Over my right shoulder is the trail that we just came down. Over my left shoulder is the trail that you would, or the spot you would end up if, when I told you to go and take that cut to the little refuge that we were just at, if you had went straight at that bridge and made the loop that most tours go on, you would have ended up right over there. So alternatively, if you have time and want to just walk around, you could also do that whole loop and end up in the same spot after making a circle. The entire property here at Bogarin is second growth forest. At one point, this was cut for agricultural land, but it's grown back into this reserve for animals. But behind me is probably the oldest tree in the property, a Kapok tree, or in Spanish it's called ceiba. So you'll see back there on the trail a sign that says dead end ceiba. And you can see this giant tree that grows dozens of meters tall and has a very wide footprint. So there's often not a ton of animal activity here, but if you've never seen one of these giant trees, it's worth the 2-minute detour on the trail. Now, right here at Bridge 6 is where we have a decision to make. And here is where my route will sometimes change up. If we go that way, it's about a 500-meter walk to get back to the reception. And if we go that way, it's about 250. So depending on how tired I am, what the weather's doing, if I go that way, I'm more likely to see some forest birds. If I go that way, we're going to end up at some ponds where we can see things like egrets, herons, and things like that. But I think for today, I'm going to take the long trail. Now I'm here standing right next to Bridge 11. And right over there, there's a yellow-throated toucan. We're having a great day for toucans today. Now, of course, the biggest attraction for most people coming to Costa Rica and coming to Bogarín Trail is to see sloths. So of course, I'm not going to end the video without showing you a sloth. Now, to finish up our tour for today, I need to put sunglasses on because out here in the sun, it is bright and hot. We're just about at noontime, and I wanted to wrap it up here because this is a special spot for me in particular. Just over a year ago, I got the idea to start sharing with people everything I've learned about wildlife from reading, watching videos, just experiencing it here from my 10+ years in Costa Rica because I love sharing information with people. And I created a TikTok video standing right here. I had no idea that over 30,000 people would watch the video, thousands would follow me on TikTok, And I wanted to say thank you to all of you. It's really encouraged me to continue in this project of trying to create educational content to teach people about the beautiful wildlife of Costa Rica. And I'm just starting to get going now with making more in-depth productions for YouTube. And so as this is my first virtual walk-around tour of a location, I thought it would be fitting to end in the same spot that I started my very first TikTok. So thank you all for watching this video. If you'd like a guided tour with me here at Bogarín Trail, you can contact me through my website at tylerwenzel.com. I'll leave the link down below. And I'd be happy to show you around here on the property, or if I'm not available that day, to help coordinate your tour here at Bogarín Trail. Thank you all for watching. Please consider subscribing and have a great day.